Do you ever notice a tingling sensation if you're sitting down for long periods of time? Or, if you're laying down at night, do you feel numbness go down the back of your thighs? Or, does it burn when you pee? On today's episode of Coach's Corner, I can't help you with that. But what I can help you with is the other type of numbness, burning, and tingling sensation. We're talking about nerve pain, and specifically nerve glides, which is a self-treatment technique that you can use that I'll show you today. This is Coach's Corner. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about nerve pain, which is typically characterized by pain that radiates, either going down your leg, or going down your arm, or both arms, or both legs, depending on what's going on. Usually the pain is more of a burning or tingling type of sensation and may or may not have some associated numbness or diminished sensation along certain distributions down the leg, arm, foot, or hand. The way on the physical therapy side that we go about diagnosing them is what's called nerve tension testing. There are specific tests for the arm as well as the leg that we use, and it just involves manipulating the body to put tension on the entire nervous system. The analogy that I like to use is the shoelace analogy. So a shoelace is continuous from the top to the bottom of the shoe. It goes through various eyelets, but if you pull on the top of the shoelace, you'll put tension on the whole system, right? On the other side, if you pull on the bottom, you'll also put tension on the whole system. And that's kind of how the nerves work. And nerves are different than muscles because muscles are, for the most part, only are comprised of a single joint or two joints, whereas the nervous system will flow and is continuous throughout the entire body. So when we do our tests, we can put tension through the leg all the way up through the head, and if that elicits the radiating pain that someone is experiencing, that usually tells us that the pain is more of a nerve type pain versus a muscular tightness or myofascial pain. Alright, so there's multiple reasons why nerve pain can occur, and I don't want to go into too much detail about that because it's not my goal to diagnose you guys if you're having some of these type of symptoms. However, the reason behind them could be multiple factors. So let's take, for example, someone that has pain radiating down their arm into their hand. Depending on which side of the hand the numbness and tingling and burning is on, that can suggest one peripheral nerve versus another. But usually I'm thinking about different places where the nerve can become entrapped. It's the concept of neurodynamics. So what could be going on is you could have something like carpal tunnel, where the nerve that goes through this tunnel is being compressed by structures. You could have cubital tunnel. There's a nerve that goes down the back of your elbow that can also be compressed by structures. Thoracic outlet syndrome is another nerve type condition where the entire bundle of nerves that comes from your neck that goes down into your arm can be compressed by various structures in that region. And then going all the way up to the neck, you can have something like a herniated disc in the cervical spine that can be pinching on a nerve root as it comes out from the central spinal cord. That can also be producing the nerve type pain. Another reason can also be stenosis, or a narrowing of the holes where the nerve roots come out. So you have your central cord, and then you have the nerve roots that branch out from that form the peripheral nerves that go down your arm. Those holes, through wear and tear or just through normal aging, they can narrow, and they can also cause an impingement or pinching of the peripheral nerves. So the whole purpose behind nerve glides is basically to help free up the peripheral nerve from any restrictions that it is experiencing as it goes down all the way to where it ends. And I have a systematic review here. This is from the Journal of Manual and Manipulative Therapy from 2008. It's a little bit older of an article, but I like it because it's a systematic review that talks about neural mobilizations or nerve glides. And what they say the primary theoretical objective is to attempt to restore the dynamic balance between the relative movement of neural tissues and surrounding mechanical interfaces, thereby allowing reduced intrinsic pressures on the neural tissue and thus promoting optimum physiologic function. That's kind of the concept behind the nerve glides. Now I'm going to show you some examples that you guys can do. Keep in mind that these are self-treatment techniques, so the risk with these is relatively low. Really, the only risk is that you could potentially increase your nerve pain if you overdo it or if you pull too hard, and so I'll talk about that when I go over them. Hope you guys enjoy the techniques, and enjoy. Alright, so going back to our nerve glides, we're going to use the shoelace model again. The nerves are continuous, so one of the ways that we can diagnose this is what we call the slump test. The slump test is also a position we're going to use for our nerve glide, so I'm going to go over it. Basically, you're going to put your foot on the ground in kind of a stretched out, your leg is stretched, resting position. You're going to kind of slump down with your upper half so that your back is kind of rounded and your head is tilted down. And then you're going to lift your toes up along with your whole foot. If you feel that radiating, burning type pain, that is suggestive that you may have some sort of nerve condition going on. So for the nerve glides, if you guys can see my foot, so for the nerve glides, you're going to put your leg out, you're going to come down, and this is important, you're going to come down to the position of restriction. So if I don't get that leg pain until my back is in this position, that's where I go down to. If I go down to this position and I already feel the pain down my leg, I do not go any further, because the whole goal with these nerve glides is to just start to elicit some of the symptoms, but without taking you over the edge to where your symptoms become increased from what they typically are. So I'm going to come down to that position of restriction, and then from there, my head and my foot, so the start and the finish point, are going to move together. So I'm going to lift my head, lift my foot, drop my head, drop my foot, lift my head, lift my foot, drop my head, drop my foot. There's no real science about the dosage of this one. I typically tell people three rounds, 20 reps, slow and controlled back and forth. All right, so for the upper half, for the arm, one of the ways that we diagnose it is with the upper limb tension test. Typically the patient is lying down on the table and the clinician or the therapist is moving the person's arm. Same thing with the slump test. However, I'm just going to show it to you guys moving my own arm. So you want your arm abducted, externally rotated, and you want the wrist and forearm to be supinated with the wrist extended. Usually the clinician has the patient's shoulder depressed, so if you guys are doing this to kind of elicit your own symptoms, don't shrug your shoulder up. And then the last piece that you can do is you can tilt your head away from your arm. So that again is stretching the whole nervous system from start to finish. And if you start to feel any kind of radiating pain as you go through the process of stretching your arm out and moving your head, that can be suggestive that you have some nerve pain potentially coming from the neck going down to your arm. So for the nerve glide itself, again, you're going to go to the point of restriction, or to the point where your symptoms start to be elicited. Let's say I get here and I don't even move my head and I'm already feeling that type of pain. I'm going to hold my arm here, and then my head and my hand are going to do the same motion. So when my hand or wrist extends, I'm going to move my head towards my hand. When I flex my wrist and move my hand up, I'm going to move my head back to a neutral position. So there to there, there to there. If you can fully extend your arm, that would be a progression of this type of nerve glide. And also a progression would be going from a position of side bending away, so away from the arm, so putting tension on the start point, and moving back to a neutral position when your wrist is extended. So here to there, here to there. That's a progression of the upper body nerve glide. Again, there's no exact science for the dosage of that. I typically give people 3 rounds, 20 repetitions, slow and controlled repetitions, and I'm telling them to make sure that they are progressing the angle or the amount of stretch that they give themselves based on symptom response. So if you do this for a couple of days and you notice that it's less irritable, it might be worthwhile for you to try to test yourself out in a more lengthened position and then do your nerve glides from that position. So those are 2 techniques you guys can try on your own. If you haven't looked at my video about how to do some self-treatment techniques, check that one out because it gives you a good overview of my thought process when I'm teaching someone how to do some self-treatment techniques. And let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this video. See you on the next one.